Hey, hi friends. This is Sujit, and here are my friends Niranjan and Venu. I am here to give you a presentation on Linux. Let's start with the following points. What is Unix? What is Linux? Which Linux distribution is better? Phishing versus fish. Basic commands. VI and Emacs. Question and answers. References. What is Unix? Unix is a multitask and multi-user operating system which was developed in 1969 at AT&T Labs, which was developed by three different scientists: Ken Thomas, Dennis Ritchie, Douglas Mockrell. And in Unix we have some other variants like System Solaris, SCO Unix, Sun operating system, 4.4 Berkeley software distributions, FreeBSD, NetBSD, OpenBSD, and BSDI. Next, we are going to come about the Linux. And what is Linux? Linux is a clone of Unix, which was developed by Linus Torvalds, who was an Finnish graduate student, and he was inspired by an replacement of Minix. Linux Minix becomes Linux, which consists of Linux kernel. Here we're gonna describe about what is Linux kernel. Linux kernel is a Unix-like operating system kernel used by a variant of operating system based on it, which are usually in the form of Linux distribution. The Linux kernel is a prominent example of free and open source software, and there are few other contents in it like GNU software package management, and others. And we're gonna describe briefly about Linux. The Linux open source operating system, or Linux OS, is a freely distributable cross platform operating system based on Unix that can be installed on PCs, laptops, netbooks, mobile, and tablet devices. And moreover, we can also install in video games, consoles, servers, supercomputers, and many more. And which Linux distribution is better? The Linux distribution which is greater than 300 is gonna be the better Linux distributions. In this, we're gonna describe about the different kind of Linux distribution which are prom which are prom which are here. The prominently used softwares are Slackware, Red Hat. In Red Hat we have two different types. They are RHEL. RHEL is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and Fedora. There are different types of Linux distributions, and they are like Cent operating system, Susan, Gentoo, Debian, Ubuntu, Knopex. We're gonna discuss different types of Linux distribution, and here we're gonna describe about the Slackware. Slackware is created by Patrick Waldring in 1993. It was originally based on soft landing Linux system. Slackware has been the basic for many other Linux distributions, mostly notably the first version of SUSE Linux, and it is the oldest and the currently being maintained. Debian. The Debian project is an association of individuals who have made common cause to create a free operating system. This operating system that we have created is called Debian. An operating system is the set of basic programs and utilities that makes your computer run. Red Hat. Red Hat is Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Red Hat Enterprise Linux is the enterprise grade version of Red Hat's open source Linux operating system distributions. Red Hat Enterprise Linux can be deployed on both servers and desktops, and it competes in the enterprise Linux market with the likes of SUSE Linux Enterprise, Oracle Linux, and CentOS. Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a community development Linux based operating system that can be used on desktops, laptops, and servers. The operating system includes a variety of applications, including those for word processing, email applications, web server software, and also programming tools. Ubuntu is free of charge, including enterprise releases and security updates. Knoppix. Knoppix is a bootable live system on CD, DVD, or USB flash drive consisting of a representative collection of GNU Linux software, automatic hardware detection, and support for many graphical cards, sound cards, SC, SI, and USB devices, and other peripherals. Knoppix can be used as a productive Linux system for the desktops, educational CD, recurve systems, or adapted and used as a platform for commercial software product demos. It is not necessarily to install anything on a hard disk. Gentoo. Gentoo is a free operating system based on either Linux or free BSD that can be automatically optimized and customized for just about any application or need. Extreme configurability, performance, and a top-notch user and developer community are all hallmarks of the Gentoo experience. Cent operating system. Cent operating system is an enterprise Linux distribution based on the source from Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Ask yourself these questions. Is it going to be around in 5 years? Is it going to stay on top of the latest security patches? Is it going to release update software promptly? If I have problems, will the vendor talk to me? Personally, I use Slackware, but we will use Cent operating system. Now here comes, we're gonna explain about fish versus phishing. ManPage. ManPage is ManPage is also known as manual page. ManPage is a form of online software documentation usually found on a Unix or Unix line operating system. Man-ls. ls is a standard Unix command used to create links to files. Man to mkdir. It is used to make a new directory. Man and man. A user may invoke a man page by issuing the man command. We have the other sections like user level commands and applications, system calls, library calls, device drivers and network protocols, standard file formats, games and demos, musical files and documents, system admin commands, manpath, Google. Linux package management. The RPM is a package management system The name RPM variously refers to the .rpm file format. Files in this format, software package in such files, and the package manager itself. RPM was intended primarily from Linux distributions. The file format is the basic line package format of the Linux standard basic. Info: text based, menu based, help from GNUI, and in the down we have few commands. The basic commands. Here comes the basic commands. The basic commands are ls, lsl, lsl command, which shows files or directories, size, modified data and time, files or folder names, and owner of files and its permission. LSA, which views hidden files. LSLA, which shows the modified data and also the hidden files. CD, it allows you to change your present working directory. You use it to move around within the hierarchy of your file system. PWD, which is print working directory. It is used to output the path of the current working directory. Which shows the full path of commands. Where is reports all known instance of a commands. Locate is used to locate certain file. Echo used to display message on the screen. Cat concatenate files and print on the standard. CP, copy one or more files to another location. MV, move or rename files or directories. MKDIR, create new folders. RM, which remove files. CHGRP, change the group ownership of files. Cron, which changes the user and group ownership of files.
This is Venu Pedu, and here I'm going to discuss about some objectives. Here, after this workshop, you should be familiar with Unix or Linux. Bourne shell. Bourne shell is nothing but it is a shell or command line interpreter for computer operating systems. The Bourne shell similarly uses the default Unix shell of Unix version 7 and shell variables or operators. Able to write simple shell scripts to illustrate programming logic, and it is also able to write scripts for research computing purposes. And here we assume that you have or you know an account on the Emerald cluster, basic knowledge of Unix or Linux and commands, Unix editor, example like VI or Emacs that we are gonna discuss further. And here I'm going to discuss about the history of Unix or Linux. Unix is a command line operating system developed around 1969 in the Bell Labs. It is originally written using C language, and the Unix is designed so that users can extend the functionality to build new tools easily and efficiently, to customize the shell and user interface, to string together a series of Unix commands to create new functionality, to create custom commands that do exactly what we want. In around 1990, Linus Torvalds of Helsinki University started off a freely available academic version of Unix. Linux is the antidote to a Microsoft dominated future. Here, the advantages of Unix using Linux can be visible to us. Here, the most Linux distros are free. Users do not need to pay for a copy, but this is the only one aspect of freedom enjoyed by Linux users. In addition to that, Linux distros can be freely downloaded and legally installed on as many computers as want and freely given to other people. Because most distros are open source, you have access to the source code and can customize Linux to be whatever you want to be. And the Linux is easy to install. As we all know, in many instances, it is actually easier to install Linux to your computer than Windows. Linux is very stable. Linux systems rarely crash, and when they do, the whole system normally does not go down. The blue screen of death, familiar to Windows users, is not a worry for Linux users. Linux is also a less vulnerable and computer malware. Emacs, as we earlier discussed that we have Emacs and VI. Emacs, the cursor movements we have, and here are the commands we can go through: the cursor movement, deletion, paste, undo, for load file, cancel, save and quit. Unix overview. Generally the Unix, you can have all the facilities like it's like control. Commands often provide complete access to the system and its devices. Most devices can be manipulated just like files. It is flexibility. Commands are just programs. Commands have common interface to allow interpretation with other commands. The Unix shell provide the glue for this. Reliability. Commands are typically lightweight since they typically do little more than invoke operating system calls. Individual commands that are broken can easily be replaced. Summary. All the above translate into power. Unix, the command line, as we already going through accessing Unix through a terminal. We have telnet, which is like host name and or port, the omnipresent failsafe, nowadays turned off due to lack of adequate security. SSH, user at the rate of host name. Secure, data is encrypted over the wire, what we use. Not always available outside CU due to different versions, implementations, platform availability. Login, 3 tries to get valid username and password right, or else it gets hacked. Show who is logged in, W or who, finger. Logout, you can press exit or control D. Commands are generally documented using the command man. Here, the man pages are subdivided into various sections. Example, documentation of the man command, man. Another example, documentation of the time command, man time. Another one, documentation of the time C library function, man 3 time. Man will present the manual page of the specified entry using more or less. In Linux, the default is less but can be overridden. Less presents a screen full at a time. Spacebar moves forward. B moves backward. $sign moves to end. Q quits. And question mark symbol helps. Shell scripting. It is another factor which we're gonna discuss here. Shell scripts can be used to prepare input files, job monitoring, and output processing. Useful to create our own commands. Save lots of time on file processing. To automate some task of a day-to-day life, system administration part can be also automated. Here you can see the Unix Linux commands. These all are incorporated. File management and viewing, file system management, help, job or process management, network management, system management, user management, printing and programming, document preparation, miscellaneous. here we all have references to go with, and we can have this. Here you get more information from these reference links you see on the screen. Here are some more links, and we welcome queries. And thanks for watching this video, and we all signing off. Thank you.